What is up? What is up? What is up? Redheads, greetings, 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 greetings. It is your guy J Red checking in once again. Make sure that you subscribe to youtube.com/RedsView. Waiting for some more people to pile on in here. What is up, everybody? It's your guy J Red from Reds View. About to have a good discussion tonight. Thank you, everyone, for joining me. Hope everybody is having a lovely, lovely week. I hope everybody's having a prosperous week on this Wednesday. We're at Hump Day. So everybody come on in here. Come on in the room because we're about to have a good discussion tonight. Just got back from vacation, so I may be got me a little tan, you know what I'm saying, letting this melanin pop. You feel me? So that's why I may look like a little token, like I got a little dark, but a little bronze. I think I look bronze now, but yeah, had a great time on vacation. Just got back Monday. So just been trying to get back adjusted and everything. But yeah, that's why you didn't hear from me last week. But if you do follow me on social media, you did see that I was out of town. But I am back now and ready to go at it. So, man, what are we talking about today? First off, I have to send my deepest condolences to Terry Ruggs. He's a friend of ours from Mobile, Alabama. He had an untimely death. He passed away yesterday. For those in Mobile and my Mobile family, you know exactly who I'm talking about. My deepest condolences to him. Check on your loved ones, check on your friends, man, because it's very unfortunate. A lot of things are taking people out this year. So make sure that you are in touch and in tune with your family. It's very unfortunate. But yeah, RP to my frat brother Terry Ruggs, man. Sending my deepest condolences to him and his family. But yeah, man. Yeah, we're back. We're back. Before I begin, make sure that you subscribe to youtube.com/RedsView. Also, if you're watching on Facebook, please hit the share button or hit the like button. On YouTube, hit the share button, the like button, or the dislike button. On Twitter, make sure that you retweet. Unfortunately, we can't go live on Instagram on this platform. But yeah, man, make sure that you support the show. I have my Cash App down there, $JRed, $JAYR3D. Support your content creators. If you want your content creators to keep putting out work, please support us. But yeah, man, we're going to go ahead and get into it. What we talking about today? What are we talking about today? Chris Brown. We are talking about Chris Brown. And I have this question. And it was a little discussion of it going on Facebook. One thing I love about Facebook, I put out what I'm going to talk about, and people already start commenting and giving their 2 cents, putting their 2 cents in. So my question for tonight, this is the biggest one. We're going to talk about other stuff, but the one for tonight, has Chris Brown fell off musically? What do you mean, J Red? What are you talking about? He's still relevant. He's still current. He's still putting out albums. He's still charting. He just broke a record. He's tied up with Elvis as far as having the most entries by a male singer on the R&B charts, Hot 100 charts. Listen, shout out to brother Chris Brown. All the accolades, he deserves it. He is one of the hardest working men in show business, maybe the hardest working man in R&B. I don't know, but for sure, one of the hardest working men in show business nonetheless. But has he fell off musically? Has he fell off musically? And I'm asking this question, this particular question, because of what he put out there. What he put out there. All right. For those who've been following Chris Brown, and everybody tap in. If you're watching right now, show me that you're watching, because we got a few people in the room, but just hit that fire emoji so we can fire this thing up and support the show, of course. Add to the chat, the super chat on YouTube, and also make sure that if you have anything, it could be $1, $2, $5. Support the Cash App. But yeah, has he fell off musically? And again, the reason that I'm questioning this is because of what he put out there. Now let's look at what Chris Brown said. I wanted to cover this last week, but I was getting ready to go on vacation, so I didn't really get a chance to do it. But we're going to look at what Chris Brown actually put out there. J Red didn't say this. I want to keep it a thou out with that. J Red didn't say this, but look at this is what Chris Brown put out last week. July 8th. I'm sharing my screen with you right now. For those who can see it, shout out to you. Hopefully everybody can see it. All right, so you see right now, this is what he put on his Instagram. July 8th, Breezy Deluxe album. Not that it matters. I think he meant to put it. Not that it matters. Seems like y'all only invest in the negative stories about me. Chris gets in trouble, the whole world is on it. Chris drops an album, crickets. And he says, I'm back on my gangster shit. It's bracking at all times. Now, what did he mean by that? What did he mean by that? What does he mean by y'all only invest in the negative stories? When I drop an album, crickets. What does he mean by that? I thought Chris Brown was relevant. I thought Chris Brown was current. I thought Chris Brown was still putting out hits and everything, which he is. But ladies and gentlemen, there's a reason that he said that. He charted at number 4, selling 72,000 equivalent album units within the first week of his album. He charted at number 4 on the Billboard Top 200 charts, and he only sold 72,000 equivalent album units. Now, for those who are not familiar with the numbers, I am a numbers guy, even though that, streams are, accounted for and different things like that, and they switched it up. 72,000 units is pretty good numbers, but not for the likes of Chris Brown. Chris Brown is a superstar. Chris Brown is the most popular male R&B singer out there, right? He took over Usher's spot. I mean, Usher is, of course, legendary, classic. He would beat him in the verses. But as far as who's hot right now, Chris Brown has been holding the torch for the last 10 years. He's been the most consistent top male R&B artist in the last 10 years, and even in the pop world. However, somebody of his caliber should be selling more than 72,000 equivalent album units within the first week. Because when you think of Chris Brown, you think of the top, the elite. You think of Rihanna, you think of Beyonce, you think of Drake. He's up there with the most, like, the top talented people, or the people who run the culture, right? So if any one of them do pretty much under 200K the first week, or under 100K the first week, it could be looked at as a failure, especially if they don't get the top spot. Anytime Chris Brown, somebody of his caliber, comes out, they usually get the number 1 spot. I'm not even sure who was ahead of him, but he didn't get the number 1 spot. And 72,000 equivalent album units is low for Chris Brown. If it's not low, because some people are, man, it ain't. No, it ain't. Who buys albums? Do you think that Chris Brown would have even tripped about this if people still didn't stream and buy albums? People do that, people. Like, Drake came out and just dropped an album. He didn't give us no promo, no nothing. The only promo he did was the day before the NBA Finals. He said, hey, new album dropping, didn't give us no warning or nothing. That was just a little bit of warning, but he still sold 200,000 equivalent album units within the first week with little to no promotion. Chris Brown has been doing a bunch of interviews. He's been on Big Boy's Neighborhood, Drink Champs. The what's the podcast name for Gilly the Kid? I forgot the name of that podcast. $1 Million Worth of Game. He was on $1 Million Worth of Game and all this stuff. So he's been doing heavy promo. However, he wasn't able to at least crack 100K, let alone get the number 1 spot. Breezy is the top level artist. So there is a reason why he's upset with his fan base and the industry. That's why he went to social media and said what he said. Now, for all the people who feel like I'm being biased and I don't like Chris Brown, that's not true. That is not true at all. It's not kept. I'm going right now off of what he said and what his frustrations are. So for anybody who thinks otherwise, you can think that, but the proof is in the pudding. Now, if I would have made a video like this and I said he had low album sales and he's not relevant and all that stuff, right? It would be different, but he actually said this. Let's look at it one more time. You see that? Okay, just making sure that you see that. All right, so the question is, why did Breezy have low album sales? That was the name of his album. Why did that album have low album sales? And this is, I got a couple of reasons for that. I got a couple of my own reasons for that. So the year is 2022, right? We're in a microwave type of atmosphere when it comes to music. Microwave meaning that we like to listen to albums fast. We're quick to call albums a classic. We're quick to rate albums, all this other stuff. But we also like music, and we like continuations of music and consistency. However, we don't like a bunch of music at one time. Now, the reason I feel like this is one of the reasons I feel like Breezy may have sold a little low is because, like people have been saying, and it ain't just me, it's what other people have been saying, Chris Brown puts out too much music. What do you mean? He's consistent. That's how you're supposed to put it out. Yeah. I know that Lil Wayne made it cool to put out a bunch of music. However, the albums that you put out in this society, this day and age, if you have more than 15 songs, you already pushing it. But if you have 20 or more, like those old No Limit CDs, you remember all the CDs like back in the 90s and stuff? If you have damn near a double album, or if you have double albums, that's too much. It feels like you're oversaturated. And I think that with Chris Brown's music, I appreciate his consistency. However, he has quantity over quality, ladies and gentlemen. Quantity over quality. Now, what do you mean by that? Meaning that the music that he makes pretty much sounds the same. Chris Brown has had the same type of sound. Now, when I say same type of sound, I'm not saying that he doesn't dive into other genres and have different producers and everything like that. What I'm saying is his albums, I said this last week or the week before when it came to comparing him and Usher. Chris Brown makes playlists / mixtapes and not albums. Now, when you think of an album, what do you think of? What's the first thing that comes to mind? When I think of albums, I think of The Miseducation of Lauryn Hill. I think of Reasonable Doubt. I think of Illmatic. I think of Thriller. I think of, you know, those albums that you can listen all the way through. And it gives you some type of consistency as far as, you know, concepts, telling a story. And every song makes sense to put with every other song. Chris Brown albums has a lot of different sounds, and it's consistent as far as having something to listen to. However, is it actual quality? Because I don't know whether it's a trap R&B album or a pop album or a reggaeton album or Afro beats or whatever. It's like he just records a bunch of material and decides, hey, I'm just gonna put it all on the album. You know, some artists, a lot of artists like record a bunch of songs and then they just pick and choose which ones will be fit for the album. It don't feel like Chris Brown does that. It feels like every song he records, he ends up putting it out. And while it is a wide range of music and he's showing his skills and diversity, it can be oversaturated. And a lot of people looked at this album like, oh, not another album with 25 tracks. And it may deter you away from the project. That's one of the reasons why I feel like he may have, you said I was waiting. Shout out to Chuck Way Washington. He said I was waiting on the bias sister show. Here it goes. But no, what I'm saying is, and shout out to everybody for watching. Shout out to everybody for watching. If you're watching right now, hit that like button for me. That's the least you could do, or hit the share button. But it's quantity over quality. Now, just because I have a bunch of songs, and the songs can sound good, but just because I have a bunch of songs together on one project doesn't mean that everybody is going to want to listen to them all the way. Because this is what Breezy fans are saying. Chris Brown, his sound sounds like he's still trying to, it sounds like it's no growth. Chris Brown doesn't sound like he's grown musically. He sounds like he's tried to put his hands in different genres, but his subject matter, his content, it pretty much has been the same for the last few years. It pretty much has been the same. And the thing is, one thing is going to guarantee he's always going to have some type of hit on there. He's going to have some songs that you like. But to me, when I listen to Chris Brown albums, it just sounds like a playlist and it's different variations of it, but it doesn't sound like it's any growth. Now, what do you mean by that, J Red? R. Kelly. This is kind of the same thing that happened to R. Kelly, right? And I'm bringing him up for a solid reason. When R. Kelly first came out, he came out with what was the album? With Public Announcement, and on there he had variations of songs, some New Jack Swing songs, some slow tempo songs, up tempo songs, whatever. Then he came out with the classic 12 play. Then he came out with the self-titled? Yeah, the self-titled album R. Kelly. Then he came out with the R. But each one of those albums sounded like growth. He gave us something different. He tapped into You Saved Me, giving us gospel songs. He gave us Step in the Name of Love. But those albums all sounded constructed together. Chris Brown doesn't really have that. And I think that what Chris Brown is really lacking in is some adult contemporary or some type of conceptual album. Chris Brown is 32 years old. He should be 32 years old. When I hear him, it makes me feel youthful and not as an adult. He's only a year younger than me, but I feel like when we make music nowadays, it's supposed to show some type of growth. He's over here talking about Catch a Body. That's something like the song he got with Lil Baby and the different folks like that, the 5 Foreign song. That song Catch a Body sounds like somebody 24 or 25 would have made that song. When I listen to Chris Brown, I want to hear some type of growth. But has he fallen off as far as hit-wise? No. But there's a reason why he's upset that 72,000 equivalent album units was the sales of Breezy, his project. Now, for those who disagree with me and think that I'm tripping, why do you think he's not selling as much as he used to? Because if you go through people's comments, if you go through the posts that have talked about him being upset about his album sales, pretty much everybody is saying the same thing. He's still singing about the same stuff he was singing about when he was in his early 20s. And you don't know these days if Chris Brown is a traditional R&B singer or if he's a rapper. Like, I don't really, at this point, I would rather hear Chris Brown work with some OGs. Now, I do like some of the songs on this project. Warm Embrace, he sampled Let's Chill. Dope song. However, like I said, the songs like Catch a Body, the song with Lil Baby, it just, like when I saw the track list, I didn't get excited about it. We need something different and unique from Chris Brown. What has he given us that has been fresh to our ears? Because the songs that he makes, they're not bad songs. However, they're not bad. It just feels like anybody could have made them. So when you're talking about consistency, has he fell off? No. But when you're talking about musically, consistency and musically is different. Like, if I'm good at cooking a McDonald's hamburger, if you're used to eating a Big Mac, right? And I cook that Big Mac the same way, you're gonna come back, of course, because you like. Some people are gonna come back because they love that Big Mac. But then some people are gonna be like, you know what? I don't really want to eat McDonald's no more. I'd rather go somewhere to get a gourmet burger. I've been eating Big Macs since I was 10 years old. I'm 25 now. Big Macs ain't really good for my body. I could eat that when I was growing up, but now as a 25-year-old, I got to watch my weight. I got to start going to the gym more, and I got to start eating better. Chris Brown makes that Big Mac type of music. You always know what you're going to get, and it's good for what it is. However, when are you going to grow into something different? When are you going to grow into something different? A conceptual album like Confessions by Usher was a conceptual album. You Saved Me by R. Kelly was a conceptual album. My Love Letter, that Love Letter album that R. Kelly put out, was a conceptual album. Chris Brown puts out these playlists. He'll put out a mixtape sounding album or a playlist and just throw a name on it. Breezy. What does breezy mean? Heartbreak on a Full Moon. What does that mean? Indigo. What does that mean? Royalty. Okay, Royalty was saluting your daughter, but the songs weren't all dedicated to royalty. Not saying every single one has to be, but it's like when I give a name for something, I expect to kind of hear that somewhere. Like Breezy, It's just, hey, yeah, I'm Chris Brown. I got an album out. I'm working, with these producers, and boom, here we go. What you say? Shout out to Indrick Perez. Sales wear down across the board from every artist. Oh, yeah. And you said X is a classic. Shout out to you for liking X. The thing is, he's been stagnant. Chris Brown has been stagnant since what? Since what? 2015? Like I said, he's going to give you some bangers. That's what he's always going to do. But when do you grow from just bangers? When are you going to give something to the soul? Now, the thing is, if you're an avid Chris Brown listener, if you're a Chris Brown hardcore fan, this don't really apply to you because, well, somewhat, but all the way, no, because you're going to like whatever he puts out. However, why isn't this man, this established number one artist that is out there, why is he selling 72,000 the first week? Why is he not number one when he drops? Unlike his counterparts. When Beyonce drops, she's going to go number one. When Rihanna drops, she's going to go number one. Jay-Z drops number one. You know what I'm saying? Why, if what I'm saying is false, how come he's complaining? Now, I do agree with them to a point where people do like to share negativity, but I mean, in this case, come on now. Come on. The royalty out. Chris Irby said the royalty album in 2015 was very conceptual. No, it was not. No, it was not. Chris Brown has been stagnant for the last few years. And I think at this point, some of his fan base and a lot of outside people are, pretty much tired of it. It's like, okay, I'm tired of hearing club anthems and those club bangers. That's cool to listen to. But at the end of the day, what do we get from that? And also, the albums are too damn long. You can't be putting out albums back to back with 30 songs on them. Heartbreak on the Full Moon, I appreciate what he did. I think that was a dope idea. However, Indigo, and now we got this album, and it's just too much music. And the thing is, it's okay, at least with a double album, like All Eyes on Me, a double album like Life After Death. You know what I'm saying? Those had a lot of songs and they had some fillers on them. I'm gonna keep it a buck. However, all the songs didn't sound the same. Man, when I was listening to Heartbreak on the Full Moon, it was cool at first, but then after a while, it's just like you just listen to a playlist of the same sounding songs. Now, if that's your thing and you want to listen to Chris Brown for 2 hours, the same type of music, knock yourself out. But I think that this is one of the reasons why. Now, what I'm waiting for from Chris Brown is for him to make a whole album, maybe like a Marvin Gaye, what's going on? Talk about what's going on in the world. Here we go. Here we go. Chris Brown is blackballed. Here we go with that. Here we go with that. I knew people were going to talk about he's blackballed. Okay. People have taken the fact that he's blackballed from the industry. Can y'all stop that at this point? Well, okay. Let's go into that. Let's go into this. So Chris Brown, y'all say that he's blackballed, right? Blackballed artists, because y'all say the same thing about Nicki Minaj. If you're blackballed, you're not going to get mainstream publicity. If you're blackballed, you're not going to be on a major label. That's what he's on. What blackballed means, you can look up people who's actually blackballed from the industry. You're not going to get this press. When you're blackballed, that means you out. Y'all don't know the definition of what blackball is. If he was blackballed, you think that he would have all this press surrounding his album? Do you think that that's the reason? I mean, seriously, y'all keep coming up with these excuses. He's blackballed. Now, this is the thing. I saw some people saying that he's blackballed because of what happened with the Rihanna thing, right? They tried to say the same thing with R. Kelly. When R. Kelly, if y'all remember, R. Kelly switched it up. He was putting out a lot of hip hop stuff as far as hip hop sounded, right? He put out Double Up and all that stuff. Then he was doing Trapped in the Closet and all that stuff. Then he did, he was doing You Save Me and then Step in the Name of Love. He was doing all those different conceptual albums. And then he put out Love Letter. And then he put out Write Me Back. And that was that adult contemporary R&B that you would hear on the Tom Joyner Morning Show and different things like that. And it showed us a different side of R. Kelly, and that was dope. R. Kelly was making songs resembling Sam Cooke records. a throwback to the old school, and was still successful selling. However, he switched and put out Black Panties, went back to his hip hop side when he was in his late 40s. And I remember when he did that, he just didn't look the same. And I was like, oh man, right? So Black Panties was successful. Then he put out the Buffet. And the Buffet was that same hip hop sound and stuff that I don't think people really wanted to hear from R. Kelly. Now, he did the same thing that Chris Brown did. R. Kelly went on his social media and was complaining about people not supporting his album. And the first thing that people said was, well, do you think it's because you had sex with underage girls? That was kept because he was still going double and triple platinum at the time where he was accused and going through the trial. It's just that I think musically, when he went back to his hip hop side, he kind of lost the audience a little bit, and his records really weren't that good on the Buffet album. So people tried to bring up, oh, he's blackballed, or he's the sexual allegations and all this other stuff, the sex tape and everything. That didn't mean nothing. That didn't mean nothing, because if it did, why were people still buying his albums back when it was happening, back when the allegations first came out and then the sex tape came out? So y'all can stop with the whole he's blackballed, he's blackballed. He's not blackballed. He wouldn't be on a major label if he's blackballed. How can a person be on a major label if they're blackballed? That makes zero sense. You're blackballed from the industry means you can't go on certain platforms. Now, I know it's a little different nowadays because you have broadcasts, but if you're blackballed, that means you can't get on the radio. If you're blackballed from the industry. So y'all need to get come on, man, get your facts straight. Chris Brown is not blackballed. Just stop it. Stop it. But I think that he's been lacking musically. Like I said, I think if Chris Brown would have switched it up and did like a album that had a whole theme to it, like if he did what R. Kelly did with Love Letter or something like that. He said, I'm gonna do a whole old school sounding album. I'm gonna do a whole 90s sounding album. Something inspiring to where all the songs sound a certain way, right? I think that people would have bought into it. I don't think that Chris Brown sucks or he's lacking voice-wise or anything like that. I just think that he needs to make more adult sound. He's already showed us that he's tapped in with the youth. If you like Lil Baby, you like Chris Brown and everything like that. But at Chris Brown's position, should he be going on tour with the Lil Baby? Like, I just don't expect Chris Brown to do that at this point in his career. It's dope that he's tapped in with the youth, but come on, man. We need something different. You Chris Breezy fans, you need that. You need something different. It's okay. It is definitely okay. But I think that, yeah, that's pretty much what it is. It's oversaturation. And then, yeah, we don't want to listen to when it's 25 songs from Chris Brown, I kind of know what to expect. And I shouldn't be doing the, expecting this at this point in time. There's no growth with Chris Brown's music. He taps into different genres and he can give you a solid playlist, but what does that mean? But for everybody's excuse, let me look on Facebook to see what y'all saying. Usher's Hard to Love album 2016 sold 38,000 the first week. Why does no one say Usher fell off? I did say Usher is not as relevant as he used to be. I did say that, Chris. That is low for Usher. Somebody who sold 1 million the first week. Now, of course, I don't expect him to sell 1 million the first week, but Usher fell off after Confession slowly. It was a slow decline. He was still putting out some dope records, right? But it was a slow decline. Usher started doing pop stuff. But see, the thing is with Usher, he tried different things and didn't keep it just the same all the way across. Usher's songs didn't sound the same. I just think that his music just wasn't as good as it used to be. Chris Brown's music sounds good. However, it's nothing different. It sounds the same. Like I said earlier, you can put out music that's good and it's not trash. It's nothing new, nothing refreshing if you're supposed to be this top artist. But yeah, But yeah, definitely, definitely. I think that Chris Brown is tapped in with the youth, and that's what's up. But you know what? It's not just Chris Brown's fault. I don't think it's just Chris Brown's fault at all. I think it's because of this. R&B music is dead. R&B music is dead. And it has been dead for the last few years. When R&B music is dead, which is the father genre of what Chris Brown came into, what do? You go to rap. These R&B artists today pretty much are rapping on tracks. The top R&B artists now of course, you have some traditional sounding R&B, but most of this R&B is filtered with that auto tune, and you can't tell a rap track different from an R&B track because the rappers sound like singers slightly. It's a lot of harmonizing going on with the auto tune, and then you got singers who pretty much are rapping on tracks. Nobody really holds notes anymore. And the thing is, I think that somebody like Chris Brown should be pushing the culture forward, pushing R&B forward, not succumbing to what's hot. You're supposed to be pushing forward. You can do the what's hot thing. See, he did that with Fame. That was dope, but you're supposed to push it forward. I don't get anything that's pushed forward from Chris Brown. But R&B has been dead for the last few years. What happened to R&B? What happened to R&B? Now, when you, I like to break this down because it's interesting, right? Pay attention to the late 80s, early 90s. Support the show. Support the show. If y'all want this content, please support the show. My Cash App is right there. We're having a good conversation. $ J Red. $J Red. Support the show, y'all. Support the show. Subscribe and then share, like, comment. Got to keep reminding y'all. But let's tap into R&B. The late 80s, you started hearing what we call the New Jack Swing. One of my favorite eras in R&B. I was born to that music. New Jack Swing lasted from the late 80s going into the early 90s. What was New Jack Swing? New Jack Swing was when R&B records started having hip hop beats and singers started rapping on tracks. Now, they weren't rapping and singing because rapping and singing wasn't really hot. It was being developed at that time. But you started hearing singers in between the songs, like they would rap, like Bobby Brown rapping on Every Little Step I Take. Teddy Riley kind of helped usher that in. But some people had looked at New Jack Swing as the start of the decline of R&B, which I don't feel like it was the case. I feel like you still had vocals, but everything started getting kind of upbeat. However, you still had a lane for the slow jams, all of that at that time. So New Jack Swing was when R&B ushered in that. Well, they got the hip hop in there and started singing a song over rap beats and then trying the rap. Bobby Brown was one of the first ones to kind of help master that, and then R&B, New Jack Swing kind of faded away towards when, the mid 90s came and definitely the late 90s. But then, I speeded up into like 06. I say 2006 was kind of like the last year of what we would call the traditional R&B. You still had Genuine and Tank and Tyrese and different people like that still putting out records. But somewhere after 06, hip hop really just took its toll and took the fuck over. And it felt like R&B artists decided to just get on that wave. If you can't beat them, join them, because the radio market for R&B started getting smaller. It used to be stations. There's still some stations out there, and thank God for internet radio, but you still have stations out there that play nothing but R&B and some of the old school R&B. But they've always categorized hip hop and R&B. That's why you have the hip hop and R&B charts. But back then, you had R&B artists sounding like singers, and you had rappers sounding like rappers. But then somewhere in between, when rappers started wanting to blend everything in and having R&B art, it went from them having R&B artists on their songs, on the hooks, to them wanting to just sing it themselves. You know what I'm saying? So then the auto-tune came. And it's funny because T-Pain, let me show you what T-Pain said about Chris Brown. Hold on. Let me go back to that. So T-Pain said this about Chris Brown, if y'all didn't see it. T-Pain said Chris Brown got princess complex. Take your album flop in stride, homie. that was crazy. He was on Academics podcast and said that. So that was crazy when he said that. I just had to put that out there. But, you know, T-Pain came out with the auto-tune, and then Jay-Z killed the auto-tune briefly. Future brought it back. And then, you know, you turn on the radio and you hear people like Janae Aiko. You hear people like, you know, all the different ones. I mean, Jasmine, you got people like Jasmine Sullivan out there, right, who do that traditional R&B. But now everybody, you know, some of these R&B artists started doing the Migos flow, and all this auto-tune is out right now. Like literally, even Usher. Did y'all hear the song that City Girls dropped with Usher? When City Girls dropped that song with Usher, Usher got auto-tune on his song. I mean, you know, his vocals. And it's just like, damn, where are the pure R&B artists now? The pure R&B sound. It sounds like at this point, if you don't have that auto-tune going on, people don't want to hear you. But like you said, Endrique Perez, I do feel like hip-hop is taking the R&B spot. Absolutely. It seems like the genres just kind of mesh together. They fuse together. Y'all know on Dragon Ball Z when they did that fusion, they've they just came together. And you really like people like the what do you call Black? Y'all know this. I don't know whether to call him a singer, rapper, or whatever. You got people like Black who you don't even know what they do, right? They just blend in, and you don't really have that as a whole now, traditional sounding R&B, because the first thing people will say, there's still R&B artists out there. You just got to look for them. Right? Back then, R&B was pushed to the forefront, but the R&B that we listen to nowadays isn't really the traditional R&B. You know what I'm saying? Like that Summer Walker stuff is not traditional R&B to me. Just keeping it a buck. Now, I'm not saying anything bad about her music. It's just that that's not the traditional R&B that I grew up on. But what do y'all feel? Do y'all feel also that R&B hasn't died, it's just evolved? Who thinks that? In the comment section, let me know. Has R&B evolved? Because that's what some people would actually say about hip hop. Nothing is supposed to stay the same. We all know that. But R&B died in the mid 2000s. It passed away. The only way that R&B can come back to life is if you have at least 10 R&B artists, and they got to be new. 10 new R&B artists come out and do traditional R&B. 10 new artists. Like when they sign these deals and things like that, it has to be a plethora of them that have good vocals that come in. And I promise you, if 10 of those artists do that, that'll change the face of R&B. And I'm talking about they come out with albums or singles. Let's start with singles that don't have or don't feature rappers. They can't feature rappers. I'm talking about straight up R&B. Now, how the production is or whatever, that's, you know, that just varies, but it needs to be at least 10 of them that's on Jasmine Sullivan's vibe. You know, 10 of them that are on got the Anderson .Paak funk, you know what I'm saying? But they have to have those vocals. Now, I want to ask this. What's interesting, if y'all watch what Tank said on his Drink Champs interview, R&B seems to not be dead when it comes to white artists or artists that are not black. Bruno Mars, Sam Smith, what's the other dude's name? Robin Thicke. I don't really know if he makes too much anymore. But like somebody like Bruno Mars, when I hear Bruno Mars, you know, you hear the Silk Sonics and the That's What I Like and all this stuff. The funny thing is, a black artist can't do that traditional old school sounding stuff without getting criticized for it, unless they're on a high caliber like Chris Brown. I feel like if you're on that high pedestal like him, he's the only one who could probably get away with it. But if Usher put out an album these days that was catered towards like the old school sound, if he wanted to do like a 90s sounding album, they'd be like, oh, Usher, he doing that old stuff. He doing that old stuff. But Bruno Mars did a whole album doing that. And we liked it. How come non-black artists can do it? Because if a white boy comes out or a white woman comes out and she gives us some 90s sounding music, we're gonna swear that it's the best thing since cooked grits. Best thing since hotcakes. But if a black artist does that, that isn't on that high caliber, high pedestal, that's not relevant or whatever you want to call it, then we would look down on it. So has R&B been whitewashed? That's another thing. Is it that black artists are trying to do it and the labels don't want to push it? Let me know. What do y'all think about that? Chris Irby said Beyonce and Ariana Grande were at the top of the current R&B hierarchy. R&B is definitely different now, Joseph. You're right. 100%. 100%. John B is still making classical R&B. Yeah, he is, but he's not pushed to the forefront. And I think it's a lot. You know what? It's artists that are from the 90s that are out there. If you want to hear that traditional R&B sound, there still are 90s artists making that type of music. It's just they're independent now. But on the mainstream level, we're not going to get that. I just interviewed Shazam from H-Town a couple of months ago. H-Town's project that is out on streaming platforms now, I think it's called Late Night. I forgot what it's called, but that EP that they put out is that traditional R&B sound. It's that traditional R&B sound. So, yeah, R&B definitely did pass away. I do feel like it needs to be 10 artists. And we got social media. We don't need the labels. We got social media in our hands nowadays. You got your own distribution nowadays. If it's 10 artists that actually have vocals and go viral and be able to make good albums and stuff after that, that means that other people will follow the trend. But if everybody just goes on this same wavelength, everything's going to sound the same and it's going to sound like a Chris Brown album. It's going to sound like a Chris Brown album. But like I said, I don't think it's solely Chris Brown's fault. He doesn't have any inspiration as well. Like, as an artist myself, if I don't have inspiration, that's going to not inspire me to want to create. Like, when I grew up, I was listening to rappers from the 80s and the 90s that made me want to rap, like Kendrick. When Kendrick just put out his project, every time Kendrick Lamar puts out a project, it inspires me to want to go into the studio and create a body of work. And that's what's missing nowadays, bodies of work. All the artists nowadays just want to throw a bunch of music on an album, everything that sounds like a hit. See, back in the day, we had a lot of B-sides, right? That ended up being hits indirectly. Like Usher's Can You Handle It? That wasn't no single. But if that shit comes on, if I play it, women gonna go crazy. We all gonna go crazy. That's what it's made for off Confessions. That wasn't a hit record, but in the streets, oh, we loved it. But we don't have those type of records anymore. These album cuts used to be like singles. Nowadays, everybody tries to make 15 singles and put it all on the album. And you can't digest that as a listener. I don't want to party all the time. Everything on your album don't need to sound like a number one single, if that makes sense. If that makes sense. But we need a change. Music right now needs a reset. We've been in a decline, not just from R&B, and I say this earlier, from hip hop as well. And it's not just Chris Brown. I look at all artists that have been out. The only ones that kind of make that different type of music that I've heard so far is Jasmine Sullivan. Hers was kind of trendy, you know, but not really, not all the way. Of course, Kendrick Lamar. And it's okay to dibble and dab in what's hot. But J. Cole, in my opinion, lost his essence because he tried to sound too modern. Jay-Z never sounds modern. Want to know why? Because he pushes the damn culture forward. 444, we're still listening to that. No Jay-Z album sounds the same. No Nas album sounds the same. Don't tell me these artists can't make music. Don't tell me these artists can just make what's hot and trendy and all this. No. There's a reason why these artists, because traditionally how hip-hop is supposed to go, these 90s artists that came out 20, 30 years ago, we wouldn't be rocking with them because they old. But why do I still want to hear a 50-year-old Jay-Z? Why do I want to hear a 50-year-old Nas? Because they still make albums and not playlists. Lil Baby makes playlists, not albums. Shout out to Lil Baby. Keep in mind, hot artists. These artists are dope that are out here. Kodak Black got some fly shit out there. A lot of these artists got some fly music, but they make playlists. They don't make albums. Some of them do, with the exception of a few, but not really. We need a reset in music, and I keep saying that. And it's not just the artists, it's the producers as well. We need better production. We can't rely on old folks to keep with the older people that have been, and I hate saying old folks, but the like the Neptunes, Timberland. We can't just say, oh, we just gonna go with that. It needs to be 20-year-old producers that are making that organic sounding music. Now, of course, our legends are Pharrell, the Neptunes, Timberland, Swiss Beats, all of them, right? But we need a reset of production, and we need a reset of music. We need a reset, a solid reset. But anyway, let me continue to keep going. Because I could talk about this all day. But let me know in the comment section if y'all think that I am tripping, though. Because I see it's a few of us watching. Make sure that you subscribe to youtube.com/RedsView, and make sure that you hit up the Cash App, ladies and gentlemen. Give $1, $2, $3. It don't matter. And then if you're watching right now, do me a favor and hit the share button. Hit the share button. Did y'all see what Orlando Brown said about Bow Wow today? Did y'all see what Orlando Brown, Mr. Orlando Brown, said about Bow Wow today? Please tell me y'all saw that, because I got to look it up. I saw it earlier. And Drake Perez said yes. Look, let me show y'all what Orlando Brown said about Bow Wow. Hold on, let me look it up. Let me and Bow Wow, shout out to Bow Wow, man. Bow Wow is my guy. I don't think he likes me that much, but he's my guy. Hold on, y'all. Let me pull this up. All right. And I hope this is fair use. But let me show this real quick. Hold on. All right. This is what he said about Bow Wow, ladies and gentlemen.
I want us in the park, but
when's the last time you watched 106 in Park?
Last time it was hot.
What's the weather? What's the weather today, y'all?
Fair use.
Bow Wow was on there.
You got a problem with Lil Bow Wow?
I ain't got a problem with Lil Bow Wow. Lil Bow Wow got some bomb ass pussy.
You heard it. You heard it. Orlando Brown said Lil Bow Wow has some bomb ass pussy. What y'all think about that? And Drake Perez, what you say? Orlando is a whole trip. He really is, man. He really, really, really is. I know Bow Wow is probably going to respond, but I'm gonna just he said he got some bomb ass vagina. But let me say this, man. You got to take what this man says with a grain of salt. I don't believe it, honestly. I think that, of course, he may not even be on drugs. At this point, I think the drugs have just taken over his mind. And Bow Wow, if he was smart, he wouldn't even respond to this, because y'all know that boy crazy. Come on, man. Like, he said that Nick Cannon served him up. And I mean, I don't believe it. I think Bow Wow can be corny at times, and he could be, some people look at him like he's a joke and all that stuff, but I don't believe that Bow Wow and him did anything. He could just be talking. I hope not. I wasn't in their business, ain't in their bedroom, but it was hilarious. It was definitely hilarious nonetheless. But I want to talk about this as well. So Styles P, for those who hadn't seen this video that I'm about to show, Styles P actually did what you're supposed to do if you see another black person in harm. by law enforcement. And let me share this. He stepped in, and when a cop was harassing a black woman, now she did look like a stud, but she was definitely a black woman. Let me show you what happened. Fair use.
I'm recording. He's a bitch. I know he is. No, keep recording.
So y'all can see that she's being arrested. I don't know who this is, but the cops are all over her. I'm not sure what happens before that, but keep watching.
Yo, keep recording, I hope your camera's on because you didn't. Yo, sister, loosen up. Loosen up.
That's Styles P right there.
Sister, relax. Please. Yo, you's a hoe, That's dog. A girl, too, by the way. You's a fucking hoe, man. That's a girl, by the way. And I got you on camera. I hope you got.
What's funny is that they said that's a girl, by the way, because, like I said, the girl's a stud. She looks like a dude on the ground. So maybe the police officers didn't know, but nonetheless, let's keep going.
You're a whole bitch. I'm gonna back up. Don't touch me. I hope you got this on camera. Yeah, you scared. I hope you got this on camera. You need to back up. You need to back up, mister. You need to back up. You need to back up.
So that's Styles P and the police officer right there.
You need to back up. You need to back up. That's a female. That's a female. Hope your camera's on. That's a female. That's a fucking female. That's a fucking female. You a bitch, nigga. Outside that uniform, you know what you are. You know
all right. What you are. And excuse, I hope I don't get strikes from that, but excuse the language.
You are. Y'all know who the fuck y'all are? You had your hand on the Y'all know exactly who the fuck y'all are. You know exactly who you are.
See, he going in.
Just graduated from high school. You're fucking nervous. That's crazy. I just told him when he get at the water with the other white girls. They antagonize white girls, not guys. They don't antagonize guys.
Yeah, so that's pretty much what happened, man. So for those who hadn't seen that, I just showed you. Shout out to Joseph for donating to the Cash App. Appreciate you, bro, to the Cash App. Everybody else, like I said, the Cash App is up there. $J Red. Make sure that you contribute something. But yeah, so that's what happened. Styles P confronts police for wrestling an unarmed black woman, and I got my fist up for that. My fist is up for that. Now let me tell you something. If more people did this, more black people did this, there would be no George Floyd situations. Again, if more black people did this, there would be no more George Floyd situations. Because when you step in like that, you get involved and you make sure that that black person isn't harmed. Like, I mean, clearly she was still on the ground, but they were double teaming her. It could have been another George Floyd situation, but the fact that he stepped in, you know, not saying that you gotta necessarily put your hands on the police, because first thing people are gonna say is, I mean, that's gonna make more people die. That's gonna put more people in danger. No, it's not. They can't shoot everybody. They can't put a chokehold on everybody. That's why when you see protests and marches and all this stuff, they have to go get other law enforcement, and they don't shoot. If anything, they'll shoot rubber bullets, but they don't shoot actual bullets. Even when it's rioting going on and stuff, they can't shoot everybody. So think about that next time when you see a black person being harmed by a suspected white supremacist police officer. Black men in particular, don't stand around recording when you see any black person being harassed or harmed by the police. You step in and be like, hold on, get involved. Step in the circumference of where they're at, because that distracts them. And then if the person's going to get arrested, they just going to get arrested, right? But yeah, if it's a bunch of y'all, they're not going to take all of y'all to jail. They're not going to shoot all of y'all. They can't. Everybody isn't going to put their foot on your necks. That's what I'm saying. We need to step up and stop just recording, because when you just sit and record, they don't care. They don't care about losing their jobs. And they're not afraid of going to jail to harm us. So I guarantee you, if a lot of people step in like Styles P, you wouldn't have situations like the George Floyd situation. So shout out to Brother Styles P for that. Shout out to Brother Styles P. All right, let's move on. Let's talk about the Funk Flex versus Conway the Machine. How many of y'all are familiar with Griselda? How many people are familiar with Griselda? Griselda has Conway the Machine, West Side Gun, and Benny the Butcher. Now, for those who have been following, now these are dope MCs, right? Conway the Machine, dope MC. Benny the Butcher, dope MC. West Side Gun, dope MC. They're like this generation's version of the Locks, right? But there was a discrepancy that went on when Conway the Machine called out Funk Master Flex. Funk Master Flex is a well-known DJ from New York at Hot 90, Hot 107 or is it Hot 90, Hot 97, right? And he went on his social media calling out Funk Flex because the New York DJs, he feels like the old NYC DJs need to get out the way or whatever, right? So let's look at what I was about to say Conway the Machine said. And then we're going to look at what Funk Master Flex responded with.
New York shit, my opinion, man, I got to get them old niggas up out the way like Flex and them niggas, man. You know what I mean? Them gatekeepers that y'all got up there, man, that's trying to dictate, like, who, you know what I'm saying? Like, come on, bro. Good thing I don't need y'all niggas, because if I needed y'all niggas would be fake stifling my growth. Y'all don't play my shit. Sus one you got on Wendy Williams show, nigga, on primetime TV, nigga, and like, say what you said. Flex, every chance you get, you said that. You gotta stand on that. We gotta get rid of y'all niggas, man.
All right, so y'all heard what he said. I'm just gonna play that briefly. Now, he has frustrations. He feels like, the gatekeepers and the older New York City DJs only play certain type of records. They don't play his record and, everything like that. Now, let's look at what Funk Master Flex said. Who is Conway? Ha ha ha. So let's begin. You're managed by Rock Nation, Jay-Z, signed to Shady Records. I think he meant to put Shady, but he got Shade Records, Eminem. Distributed by Interscope Records, which is a major label. And then he said, you and your team have had a feature from Jay-Z, Eminem, Lil Wayne, J. Cole, Jadakiss, Travis Scott, French Montana, and more. Wasn't you on Kanye's Donda album? I'm going to give you the advice Paul Rosenberg should have gave you. You're a 40-plus bars rapper, sorry lyricist, that has had every resource possible. If you are not happy with the career as of today, with all them cosigns, I think you have peaked, my guy. What you think? You're only going to take this as disrespect because truth might be a bit much for you. Signed, Grandpa Wheelchair Bandit, Warm Milk General. I need a podcast. What y'all think? So that's what Funk Flex had to say about Conway the Machine. What do y'all think about that? In my opinion, I think both of them could be right. That's right. Both of them could be right. Now, Conway the Machine doesn't make those hit sounding records, right? However, like he said, he doesn't need Funk Flex and everybody else, right? But if you don't need Funk Flex in them, why? I don't know what happened, but why do you feel the need to call them out? I don't know what transpired and everything like that. So it's validity in what he's saying about Funk Flex, because Funk Flex probably only plays what the payola makes him play, right? However, is he an old DJ and a gatekeeper? Yeah, so I feel what Conway is saying about that. However, I do look at what Funk Flex was saying and was like, okay, he's a bars lyricist rapper, and in today's age, you can do that. You just may not be in the mainstream spotlight. And he did name, they were signed to Eminem. I don't know if they're still signed to him, but they've had major co-signs from Jay-Z and different people like that. But I salute Griselda, because for them to even have what they do have is, a miracle in today's age. They have mainstream support, being those traditional New York MCs. How many of them, the traditional New York MCs, do you see out there like that have a Griselda platform? Now, of course, they're not going number one on the Billboard charts. They don't make hit records, but that's not them. So, I think it's validity in what both of them were saying, in my opinion, but I do see more so what Funk Flex is saying. However, I think that, Conway is in his own realm. You know what I'm saying? Jordan said he got one song I like. Yeah, I'm I respect what they do, right? I've heard some of their projects and stuff like that. Like that Benny the Butcher and J. Cole song is dope. Absolutely. I love that song. And I think they're great rappers, but they're not hit makers. And if Funk Flex is saying, hey man, you ain't no hit maker and you got all these cosigns, you should be able to squeeze out a hit or something like that. I get it. But Conway, it must have been something that happened because it feels like he's contradicting himself. Like if you're not happy about them not playing it, but you're happy that you don't have to have them playing it, you have your own platform, hey man, do it that way. Because like I said, to be 35 plus and to be rapping the way they're doing, which is the traditional rap that we all like, I mean, that's a blessing in today's climate. So shout out to Conway and Funk Flex, y'all. Shout out to Conway and Funk Flex. But yeah, thank you everybody who has been tuning in. Like I said, hit the cash up, support the show. Like I said, if it's $5, $10, it don't matter. Just $1. If you got $1, go ahead and do that. And make sure. Now, a lot of people be saying they want to get on this show, but you don't even share the link. Share the link for me. All you got to do on Facebook is just hit the share button. You ain't even got to make a caption. Just hit the share button. And if you want to share it to your social media, that's cool. Make sure that you comment. And if you haven't yet, make sure that you subscribe to youtube.com/RedsView. I got some stuff coming up, got some interviews coming up, got some more music coming up. Oh, the summer, we just getting started. But yeah, man. And if you're in Atlanta, make sure that you come check me out when I DJ at Barber Bistro. That is in Marietta, actually. But come out to Barber Bistro on Sundays for brunch. Get your brunch on. I'm there from 11 to 4 every Sunday. Catch me at the W Hotel, the Renaissance Hotel in Atlanta. I'm there every other week. So make sure that you always hit me up for that. But again, man, I appreciate you for joining me today. Everybody for joining me. We had a great discussion. The hardest part is chopping everything down so I can make sure I put it up on Instagram and TikTok and stuff like that. But yeah, shout out to y'all, man. If you haven't, follow me on social media at JAYR3D. If you have any suggestions on what you want me to speak about, what you want me to talk about, hit me up in the DM. And I'm wondering if I should start getting people on the show as far as like on my live. Like I'm thinking about putting my link down there and people can join me like a call in, how we do on the radio station. What would y'all think about that? What would y'all think about people, because I know some people want to get their camera time and things like that, but I've been thinking about it, but I don't know. Y'all can let me know what y'all feel. But shout out to everybody for joining me. And if you haven't, Pregame, that's my single as well. That is on all streaming platforms. If you want something to vibe to, something to listen to, get your drink on to, get that Pregame. And yeah, man, subscribe to youtube.com/RedsView. But that's my time for tonight. Thank you everybody for joining me. And I'm about to get up out of here. J Red, RedsView.